build their own loot crates, and then
Yeah,
they do their own subscriptions.
get their staff to line up and get as many exclusives as they could and bring
Yep.
it all home. And there was a guy up here in Canada, a guy named Russ Montague, who operated a couple. Something.
Yep.
And he really tried to make it worthwhile for his customers, but he was also reselling loot crate. So I canceled my loot crate subscription, and then I would just wait, and then the month afterwards, I'd go to his store and buy the loot crate that I missed last month for 40% of the cost
There you
of
go.
doing the subscription. So it wasn't worth it to me to keep subscribing. But
that's a shame that all those things just kind of faded.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Well, because they weren't just doing the loot crates for like the comic companies and the geeky stuff. I mean, there was crates for every type of stuff. There was horror crates. There was, game crates. There was all that stuff. And then what the companies started finding out, the actual brands that were contributing to this, they found out they could do their own. Even with Funko, they're like, we could do our own type of box crate, give somebody a T-shirt, a limited edition Funko, maybe a pin or a button, and sell it for $20 at the Walmart, and people are getting what they want. And do some exclusives. So
exactly.
That's true. All right. Well, that being said, what's up, freaks and geeks? It's your boy Rick Dunn, and I'm here again with a bunch of my nerdy friends talking all good nerdy stuff. Today we're going to get into the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, what I like to call the mid-season. It's kind of like the mid-season recap. Even though they just dropped us episode 4 last night, which was the hammer, as I would like to call it. And so we're definitely going to talk about that. Can't help but talk about that one. That has to be talked about. So we're going to just kind of get into some of our likes and our dislikes about the show up to this point. And then at the end of it, we'll talk about how we feel or how we theorize the show is going to come to an end. And then we'll see how close we get to the reality of the show, or the way it's going to end. Feel free to join us in the comment section, talk to us, give us your thoughts about what you think about the show and where you think it's going to end as well, and join the conversation. And today, once again, I have over here Mr. Gravy One himself, Graven Ravenwolf.
How you guys doing?
As well as one of my buddies from back in the day. We used to work on cruise ships together. Mr. Max Thrust himself, Rob. we're gonna go ahead and get into some of this stuff, man. I mean, listen. I know this is a hard one for me to not talk about what happened last night. But try and talk about the whole show, and then get to the episode 4.
Yeah, but let's build to that.
That's because it's kind of hard not to, man. Because it's just like wow. But yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. The show up to this point for me has not been a bad show at all. It's not. It wasn't like a mind blowing thing. Like it wasn't like, oh my god, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my life. But it was fun. It was a fun show to watch. I enjoy watching Bucky. I enjoy watching Falcon, and I enjoyed what they've been doing up to this point. So as far as my likes, we'll start about the likes. So far, in the episode, I enjoy the back and forth between Bucky and Falcon. I really enjoy the behind the scenes, or not really behind the scenes, but the story arcs that they're putting behind them, with giving us a little bit more depth about their characters. I enjoy that so far. I'm actually enjoying Zemo. I don't know. I've seen a lot of people comment that they don't like Zemo. I'm enjoying Zemo. I think Zemo's playing chess and everyone's playing checkers. I enjoy kind of seeing him trying to stay 2-3 steps ahead of everybody all the time. He's just got that snarky attitude, which is kind of fun to watch. I didn't even realize this. Did you guys see the whole Disney thing that they put up? They put up a meme of him dancing. That scene. It's like an hour-long loop of him just dancing, which I thought was really hilarious. But yeah, so far I'm really digging the characters that they're putting in. There's definitely a lot of stuff which we'll get into that's kind of, I feel like is question marks to me. But what about you? Let's go with Graven. What do you think so far? Your likes from
my likes on the show. I mean, like you've said a lot of it. It's a good build of story. A lot of people are comparing this show to WandaVision because that's just what they just got done seeing, and trying to balance the two. I think you really can't. I think they're two stories built within themselves a little bit, just trying to connect some of the pieces of materials of the other movies and kind of be the sinew that connects everything. So it depends on the flavor you're interested in. Likes that I like with this. I love what they're doing with the banter between Bucky and with Sam. I enjoy that tremendously. I think that's nice. I think they've got that weird odd couple feel that I think is strong, and they're playing off of that well. I really, really enjoyed the cinematography, the action scenes, the choreography that's happening within the show. Depending on like what Sam is doing as Falcon, like that first episode, I think no second episode where he gets kicked off the fight that's between the semi trucks and he recovers like a real bird. Phenomenal. Yeah. I mean, that's the favorite word I use. Phenomenal. It was just great to see that type of organic happenstance, work with that character. I think that was great. I think it's good that we get to see Bucky actually be a super soldier a little bit, because at some point it's all about the arm sometimes, and it's not really about him being a fighter. And I think that's good that we're seeing a little bit of that, the turmoil between being the Winter Soldier and trying to get rid of that persona, and then how he's kind of transitioning into White Wolf and seeing where that kind of happens as well, and then kind of trying to heal through all the trauma and just how much Cap meant to him. We're seeing that a lot with this character. I think that's important. Not as much as the bromance type thing that was happening, but a real solid friendship, a kinship, a family idea that's happening with him. I really like that. I enjoy. I didn't think that I was going to kind of enjoy the John Walker process, because there's a thin line on how that character needs to be introduced within this story, based on what his back history is. And most people don't really know that history. They're just seeing him for the first time. But to the average comic fan, we pretty much know where this character is going, where he's kind of came from, what are some of the deep things that are happening with him. So I'm kind of happy to kind of see that kind of come to fruition a little more now. There's still some things we can talk about, but I like that character growing as it is. I like the I like the fact that we're seeing about things that are happening, how people are being affected by the blip, like what happened with that period of time and how the world's changed. I'm enjoying that too. There's a lot. I could probably deconstruct a lot of things I like about it. There's a lot of things I don't, like. There's certain areas I don't like about it, and there's things that I think are still open to debate based on how they're building the show. So I won't drag that all down. But right now, those are the things I like about it so far.
Okay. All right, Rob, what do you think?
100% on board with what you guys have both said already. The action scene in episode 1 that opened up the series, that was just unbelievable. Awesome cinematography, excellent stunt work, seeing new ways for Falcon to do his thing, and just showing us new stuff. It was awesome. I like that little Redbird thing. It's a bit of a foil, it's a little backup thing that he can pull out of his ass whenever he needs to.
Right.
But it also meshes with his character. The dynamic between Bucky and Sam is really interesting. There's a deep level of caring, but there's also a deep level of get out of my face, man. Between the two of them. What I would love to see more of is more Bucky and the therapist.
Oh yeah.
And that kind of, screw you, screw me, what are you doing? Yeah. Just back and forth, where he's basically calling her out on all her psychotherapist bullshit.
For sure.
Right? Because I've been to therapy, and that's what they do to you. Like they have all these little tricks, right? So I really like that. And I do want to see more of the Wakanda angle that we saw in episode 3 and carried into episode 4. I wasn't expecting that, because from a comic book standpoint, I did not follow that story arc at all. So all I knew was he was in Wakanda for Infinity War. And that's all I knew. I'm like, oh, how did he get there? That's interesting. But it really is an interesting element to everything else that's going on. Zemo, don't care for the actor. I like the way he's playing this character. So, yeah, it's been really, really good so far for me.
Yeah, I mean, I can say the same thing. I'm not really fond of the actor, but I think he's really playing the role well. Like, you're not really meant to like him, but at the same time, he just seems to find a way to be a step ahead of everybody all the time. And the way he gets about doing that is interesting. It's just kind of fun to watch because you automatically know, okay, what is Zemo going to do, or is Zemo going to take advantage of this situation?
Well, and they tipped us off to that when when Bucky asked him what he was reading, and he's reading Machiavelli's The Prince.
Yes,
which is the textbook for how to screw people and get rich.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Get rich, you get the power. It's It's Scarface for ancient Italians.
100%. Yeah, let's not forget too that with Zemo is the only other villain that we've seen, and of course there can be a lot of arguments with this, and I'd be interested to see what you guys think, but I haven't heard anybody really touch on it in news or otherwise. But Zemo is really the only villain currently in the MCU besides Thanos to actually mess up the Avengers horribly. He definitely created a crux of what a villain should be. Even though he didn't seem to get a lot of face time within Civil War, he still, single-handedly destroyed the inner workings of the Avengers, more so than, Ultron did to some degree, more so than Loki, and more so than, Hela and some of the situations that she was dealing with Thor. I mean, it's at least I could be looking at it wrong, but it felt like that's what's been happening a lot. He caused a divide and conquer issue with them and really messed them up ever since. They haven't been the same since Civil War because of what Zemo did. Yeah. And you see how this bleeds over into the Wakanda angle and what's happening with them and how it's still coming back to hit the Avengers and what they're trying to do and those heroes. So
that's true. Yeah. I didn't think about it like that. Yeah. Yeah, ever since he kind of pulled the string, he kind of kept tugging on the string in Civil War, and they've never been the exact same since. So, yeah, it's true. I mean, he really didn't get a lot of screen time, so I guess you kind of do downplay him as a bad guy in Civil War. So, yeah, I mean, I think I do wonder what's going to happen, and I guess we'll get into our theories on what we feel like the show's going. Since there's only going to be 2 more episodes, which is boggles my mind that there's only 2 more episodes. It's like, wow, what are they going to do?
Short season.
Yeah, I know, it's like crazy. But I also have to say, like, it was kind of bittersweet to know that, to me, it was like, when Wakanda comes back into the show, to know that obviously, if it wasn't for the passing of Chadwick Boseman, that he most likely would have been in the show. So, so that was kind of interesting. It's like, wow, okay. I didn't see that. Like Rob said, I didn't see that coming when it happened. I was like, oh, shit. I had no clue that this was going to happen. Which is another thing about the show that I do like. So far, every time they kind of reveal something, it's like, oh, wow.
It's a true reveal.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming. That was awesome. But, like Graven kind of brought up, let's talk a little bit more about what I like. I got this from another guy that I watch. He's called Andre the Black Nerd, and he calls John Walker Party City Cap. And I'm sorry, I have to go with it. I love it so much. So
he's a cosplayer Cap.
Yeah. It works so much for me, Party City Cap. But obviously, like Graven said, when it comes to the comic books, if you know about John Walker and you have an idea where his character is supposed to go, but that doesn't mean that they're not trying to play it a little different. Correct. They've definitely tried to play him in the beginning. Let's put it this way: I wasn't sure how they were going to play him because in the very beginning they almost make you want to like him. You know what I'm saying? Like he's sitting in that high school with his wife, and you know what I'm saying, and Battlestar, and he's just he's like talking about how much weight is on his shoulders, and and you're like, wow, this is a really down-to-earth dude. You know what I'm saying? He's just going through some stuff. This has to be hard. But then slowly but surely, he just starts to, little by little, he just unwinds. Like, every episode.
Then he gets out into the wild, and you see that he's a stereotype of what Europeans see as the typical bullyish, ignorant American.
Mm-hmm.
Now, having worked with Americans, and I've got tons of friends that are Americans, I know you aren't all like that.
Exactly.
Most of you aren't like that.
Mm-hmm.
But he gets out there, like when they're interrogating the German hostel guy, the internet cafe guy, and you see that disdain on his face.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, when later on when they're talking to the Latvians, right, and to the Wakandans. It's this condescending American superiority, and you immediately you flip and okay, I don't like this asshole.
Yeah, the moment he opens his mouth, "Hi, I'm John Walker, Captain America." He like sticks his hand out to the Dora Milaje, and they're looking at him like, "Look at you."
Yeah.
So yeah,
I know we're not going to get into that scene probably just yet, but I got to tell you, that scene. That scene.
He got slapped down.
Price of admission to the whole show.
Yeah, exactly. We've watched that like probably 5 or 6 times. But yeah, no,
don't come for the Wakandan woman unless she calls for you.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and it was I like how they played him though. I mean, they keep trying to give you something to like about the guy, but like Rob said, he keeps screwing it up. Like every time
over his own dick.
Yeah, like every time they give you something to go, oh, this guy's just he's trying, like he's really trying, and then he opens his mouth and you're like, oh my gosh, this guy's such an asshole. What I'm saying? Like every time. And I was so wondering, like, how are they going to do this? Is he going to get the super serum? How is this going to work? And so that whole scene where he gets the serum is so far is brilliant. But other than that, what do you guys feel about the Carly, what was her name? Carly, I can't remember her last name. Morgenthau, the leader of the Flag Smashers. So far, I'm gonna be honest, I don't really like her. And I just don't see how it works for me. Like to me, it's like she's 18, 19 years old. You know what I'm saying? She's somebody that's supposed to be a leader. She's got all these people who are, some of them twice her age, that are following her into the depths of hell. I mean, they're killing people, they're murdering people based off of her leadership. Like, I just don't understand who in their right mind would follow an 18-year-old, 19-year-old into this kind of situation and never question her reasons for doing things and the fact that she might not be doing the things the right way. Like, there might be a better way to do this. I just don't see someone her age having lived long enough to have a good grasp of the best way to handle these types of situations. You don't see 18-year-olds having to deal with murdering people and how do I murder a group of guys to make the world and to take notice of me type thing. So it just seems so out of character for her, someone her age, to have to deal with these things, and then for a group of people to be following her willingly. Like, that just to me is the one thing that I guess we can get into dislikes. That's the one thing I'm not liking so far is her character.
Yeah. I think with her, I think I could see an 18-year-old doing that if we're looking at a different perspective of understanding, because we do have third world countries and areas where there's a lot of war happening currently within our own society, and there's a lot of children that are underage that are being utilized as weapons in regards to causes. Yeah. So I think that can happen for sure, but I think the problem that we're seeing, and I agree with you, is that there's no in-depth backstory or even a hint to why her motivations are so strong. We understand there's motivations, but there's no strength in those motivations being visualized to the viewer. We don't know the stakes that have happened in her life to get us to care about her character. Do I like her as an actress? Yeah. Did I like her in Star Wars and Han Solo? Phenomenal. Do I like that character and that actress? Yes. I think she has a lot of potential. I think she has a lot of potential to get people to be behind her as an actress, but I think that they framed her completely wrong for this part. I think that they needed to have somebody else stronger. And let's not forget, Flag Smashers, if I'm correct, and maybe Rob may know this information as well, Rick, you might too. It's been a while since I've connected that information comic-wise, but if I'm correct, the Flag Smasher was a character.
It was one man,
not a group. There was not a group of people called the Flag Smashers.
No.
There was one individual called Flag Smasher that was involved back in those days, and I think they just arced to decide, hey, we need something to drive the story. We need a terrorist group to drive this narrative. So let's just change and manipulate it to this, and that's what they're doing with this. If people are not really sure about it, so. But I agree with you. I don't really think that she's strong enough. I mean, not enough to deal with the villains that they're juggling with the plot line right now. Because you've got Zemo going on, you've got her going on, you've got the Power Broker happening right now. You still have an unknown happening with Sharon Carter's character.
Mm-hmm.
You still have unknowns that even happen with John, even though they're trying to start revealing themselves here. So you've got a lot of plot threads that are running through this story right now, and I feel like the other ones are overshadowing the strength of what Carly's character is somewhat.
Yeah, like by now they should have revealed her backstory by now.
Right.
But go ahead,
so
Rob.
Yeah, so they've given us a little bit of that with that Doña Madani
Right.
bit and the funeral, and you get a glimpse of what that person meant to her.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But there's not enough there to really kind of set a foundation to base her character on. So a lot of what we see out of her kind of feels like it's based on teenage angst and chasing.
Exactly, that's what I keep feeling.
Chasing a cause versus leading the cause.
That's exactly it. That's good. I like that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I really don't care for her character much. I mean, she's a good actress, and she's doing the best she can with the material she's been given.
For sure.
Hopefully, they're able to grow her a little bit in the next 2 episodes to make us like her more, and give us a reason to have her come back in season 2 if that's the way the story arc goes. Right. Maybe this continues into a season 2 where the Flag Smashers are still around, but right now she's just kind of an annoyance when she's on screen.
Yeah, so. Feels like it's a MacGuffin that they've misused that they're utilizing through to try to tell the Power Broker story because she's attached to the Power Broker.
Yeah.
So it's like that's a side story that's trying to help give this depth to the Power Broker outside of what Sharon is bringing to that idea, and Madripoor is doing that job as well. So it's all connected. It just feels like there's 3 different storylines happening about the Power Broker and how this is affecting everything to bring it back to John Walker. Character a little bit too. So,
well,
go ahead.
Go
ahead. Sorry. No, you go.
Well, no, I was going to say, we're talking about the Power Broker, being that we're 4 episodes into a 6-episode season, and we haven't met the Power Broker yet. One of a lot of fan theories that are going around, and I was wondering what you guys would think about this. Yeah. What do you feel about the idea that Sharon Carter is the Power Broker?
I mean, I'll let Rob's a guest on the show this night. Rob, give us your thoughts, man.
Yeah. So I don't know how I feel about the idea that Sharon Carter could be the Power Broker, but I kind of get this feeling like going back to Machiavelli. Like, could it be Zemo been pulling the strings as the Power Broker from in prison all this time?
Mm-hmm.
He is not a man without resources, even in prison. Like, he had a whole friggin' garage full of fancy cars just waiting for him the day he walked out. Mm-hmm. So, could he be manipulating this whole thing and pretending like, we got to be wary of the Power Broker? But in reality, it's him kind of tugging somebody else's strings, a figurehead strings, from within prison.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, no, I that's a possibility. It's definitely a possibility. That's the thing. There's kind of this weird thing because a lot of people are thinking, like you said, that Sharon Carter could be the Power Broker as well. They're talking about that as a particular idea, which if that's the case, then it's right up in front of your face. And I'm actually going to be kind of disappointed if that's the case because, it is so obvious that she, what has she been doing all this
Something's
time
going on, like you said.
But we know
how she's been
something's
operating in
right,
Madripoor all this time.
Absolutely.
And not been compromised.
Correct. Because we have to believe that everyone in that world is going to at some point know that this is Peggy Carter's granddaughter. This is a granddaughter, I would believe, right? That's correct. So they're going to know this is associated with her. Someone's going to find that. You can only wash her identity so much. Based on everything that's happened and how she's been associated with Cap, how she's been associated with the Avengers, S.H.I.E.L.D., all that. So she's going to have to do some really good stuff to hide that. But what better way to hide that if it's right out in the front as the Power Broker? Create this whole, ideology and run everything. So I think it's possible. I just am kind of hoping it's not because it's a little easier thread to see. Zemo is a good thread to see as well. What is he doing? What's he been doing? Zemo's too powerful, and they really haven't really captured that enough. They've shown some things of it, but they really haven't had him have a moment to shine as he is, as his family is, what he is to Cap, what he's been. So I think they're getting there, and I'm excited that they're getting there. I'm glad that they brought him back for this. I think he was shortchanged tremendously in Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was really good that they did give him back his screen time, and we need to build him as the villain, solid villain that he is. So as far as anybody else, what people may not know about the Power Broker idea is the Power Broker idea was actually two individuals that were built within the Madripoor area for the comic books. One main character, that was Dr. Carl Maus, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. And he was involved. There was duplicates of that idea. And they started, their whole job, the Power Broker's job was to create super serum. That's what he wanted to do. He was trying to find a way to the highest bidder. He would basically give power serum, super soldier serum to the highest bidder or to a payer. So he was running kind of like this drug operation with the super soldier serum in Madripoor, and that's what he was doing. And then John Walker and Lamar Hopkins were involved with that further down the road, which a lot of people don't really. So if you understand the comics, you're going to start understanding how this is starting to kind of flesh itself out. Mm-hmm. Without me trying to give too much of the backstory. People can go read about it if they want to some degree. But, what people don't understand is John Walker was originally Super Patriot. Before he became the tick-up Captain America, and before he becomes what I'm excited to see, hopefully, which is U.S. Agent. He was a Super Patriot. And Super Patriot was kind of a villain, a heroic villain foil to Captain America. And what his vision was. And the writer was actually trying to make him that type of villain. And we're not seeing that. We're just seeing him go straight into John Walker. And same thing with Battlestar, Lamar Hopkins. Battlestar was, his right-hand man, but they were all involved with Power Broker. So I don't know. It's as far as who the Power Broker could be, I'm honestly, and this is just wishful thinking, I don't think we've been shown the Power Broker yet. I would like to believe that maybe the Power Broker may be an X-Men villain of some type. I would love to see that in some way. Because the Power Broker was not superhuman. That's another thing I need to say. The Power Broker was not a superhuman villain. He was not some special character. He was just a guy and had a partner that ran Madripoor. What's that?
Guy looking to make money.
That's exactly what it was. But I think Marvel may utilize this functionality to make it a little more grandiose. And I could be wrong. And they'd actually be stupid if they didn't. Because why not? You've got characters to use. Change it a little bit. So that's what I got to say about that.
And it would give them a tie-in to a possible spin-off or alternate series. Right. Maybe an X-Men spin-off as a short-form series as well.
Mm-hmm. What if Sinister's involved? What if this is Sinister? Working with the serums. It'd be a perfect way to bring Sinister into this whole world and the X-Men connection.
Oof, wow. I mean, talk about the internet blowing up. That would be awesome. I mean, I think something's going on with Peggy. So if she's not the Power Broker, I think she's either working for the Power Broker or maybe she's working with S.H.I.E.L.D. or something. But she's not being truly upfront about what she's doing. Yeah, so I'm interested in seeing, obviously, where that reveal is going to happen. I mean, other than that, I mean, as far as the rest of the season is concerned, I really do think that, again, every episode, it almost feels like every episode has been leading up to episode 4. Like, every episode 1 through 3 was decent episodes. They all had their little moments. But episode 4 is the coup de grace right now.
That's a good term to put it.
Yeah, it's pretty much where everything has been heading to right now. I mean, that being said, how do you guys feel about, because like you said, we said there's been little things that Walker's has dealt with each episode, little pieces of him slowly falling apart. But this episode is when it really just kind of came crashing down, and I do find it interesting that they still, up to the last minute, had him questioning whether or not he should take the serum. Like, it wasn't like he just full on said, screw it, I'm taking it. Like, he still questioned, should I do this? Do you think this is a good idea? He talked to Lamar, his friend Lamar. Would you take it? His friend was like, hell yeah, I'd take it. So he was still questioning this. And I watched somebody else earlier today who reminded, because they said this in the show, they reminded us that the serum is supposed to make you more of who you are.
So if you're an asshole, it's going to make you a bigger asshole.
Exactly.
But I want to point out before we get into episode 4 that we do not see him take the serum or inject the serum.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, it's possible that during the fights we saw him in episode 4 that he is still not super powered, because it's described early on that he is, a peak physical specimen for an unaltered human, right? So nothing we see in episode 4 really, jumps out and says, "Holy shit, he took the serum!" Right? So he could still be wrestling with that. Well, we don't know, except for the fact that leading up in that episode, we see him, getting a little more edgy a little more off edge, a little more, we start seeing facial tics and muscle tics in that scene in the old hospital, right, where he looks at a mirror, and as he's looking at the mirror, you see some facial tics, like he's wrestling with something really hard, and we know it's the serum question. So, I mean, I kind of, the way they built the character up, we want to think that he's taken it, but I don't know that he did.
I mean, I think the scene where Falcon comes into the scene, he's fighting the Flag Smasher, and he bends the bar.
That's the only thing that.
Not the only thing.
To me, stood out as possibly being.
Not the only thing. The other thing was when he jumped out the window.
Oh, and landed on the van.
Landed on the van.
It was a nice cap move.
It was definitely a cap move. But, he's there's no peak condition in you falling 5 or 6 stories and crushing the top of a van if you don't have the juice in you. I don't know about that one. I mean, that's a hard sell. I'm just saying that's a hard sell.
Right, fair enough.
And it's possible. I was thinking, too, that we can't forget that the shield's made of vibranium. And so a lot of the stuff that he's doing, even if the Flag Smashers are punching him and hitting him, it's absorbing a lot of that impact.
Yeah, of course.
So it may look like he's actually super strong to take their hits, but it's actually the shield doing a lot of the work.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that too. But yeah, I mean, it's very possible. Just I think the smoking gun is the bend of the pipe. But again, we don't know. We don't know that pipe.
Could have been aluminum pipe.
Could have been easily bendable.
Yeah, okay. I mean, you could take the pipe and bend it yourself. He jumped out 6 flights.
Sheet metal,
he jumped. He jumped from a 6-story building and landed on a car, and then just ran away. So he took the juice.
Yeah, I get you.
And I think
saw his best friend get killed.
Yeah.
So a lot of adrenaline going there.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, well, that's what it is. It's adrenaline. Okay.
We'll find out next episode. But,
yeah. I think.
I mean, I personally think he took it myself, but it's, again, I agree with Rob that it could be possible. It could change anything with what they're doing right now.
I think that's exactly where the next episode is going to begin. It's going to start right with, "Holy shit, you took the fucking serum! What the fuck?" Like, I think that's exactly where. Because
there've been a lot of twists and a lot of reveals so far, right? So there's a lot of ways they could choose to reveal this or make it come about.
Because that's the first thing that Falcon says. The Falcon flies in, sees him bend the bar. And he goes, "What the fuck?" You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then he goes, and then Caps goes, "They got Lamar," and then they move away from it. You know what I'm saying? But you see Falcon like, "What the fuck?" Like, and then he just kind of brushes past it. So I know that's exactly where the next episode is going to be.
Too much to process right now. Move on.
Let's move on. So, I mean, listen, Hoskins dying wasn't fun. I didn't, I thought that was kind of messed up. It obviously had to happen. Yeah. Something had to drive him over the edge. And I thought it was either going to be Hoskins dying or him getting his ass handed to him enough. Yeah. Because, again, fuck it. We're going to go right into it. Again, the Dora Milaje scene.
Yeah.
When he got his ass handed to him.
Oh, yeah.
Good Lord Jesus. When he got his ass handed to him.
That was a righteous ass kicking.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Not only did he get his ass beat by a woman, he got his ass beat by a black woman in front of a bunch of other women.
Multiple times.
And his peers.
Multiple times.
Well, there's a little hidden justice there, and I don't know if you guys are aware of it, if you ever remember reading it or knowing about the character U.S. Agent. And I don't like to bring this up a lot. I don't think Marvel likes to bring it up a lot. But let's just be honest. Through the 80s and the 90s of books, Marvel had a lot of different story ticks that they were dealing with social issues and social cues, and some of their characters were written a certain way that actually expanded upon certain type of racial things. And John Walker was a racist to some degree in the book, specifically to a character called Talisman, who is Native American, and he was really much had a weird moment with that. And he didn't do it all the time, but there were certain things that were framed where there was that like what Rob was saying earlier, that classic European American archetype, that was trying to be better than everything. So I think it even was stronger to see his ass get whipped by the Dora Milaje as like a payback homage to, hey, this is this type of character, and we just handed it to him. I thought that was great. Most people might not pick that up, but it felt like that was something there. I might just be getting into the weeds of fandom there, but it seems like that.
I mean, you're digging. For the average person, they obviously wouldn't know anything about that, but people that know about that, they'll understand where you're coming from. But no, that whole scene. I mean, when Falcon was like, Bucky, you gonna help? Bucky's like, hey, I'm good.
Yeah, I'll get to it.
I love those little comments, man. I love his comments. Yeah. He's like, holding up there, John?
How you holding up there, John?
I really liked when they popped his arm.
See.
Oh, that ain't fair. Oh.
Yeah, that was crazy. Because she did some old, like, freaking ninja jujitsu.
Yeah.
And tapped his arm.
Point crap.
Yeah, and it just fell off, and his face was priceless. He looked at her like, what the hell did she just do? And his whole arm fell off.
He dropped his ice cream.
Yeah. His fucking whole arm just fell off, bro. That was awesome. It was really awesome, to be honest.
It was a great moment.
Is it weird how those are one of the few. There's some strong moments in this show. There are some moments I think could be better, because there are some areas that I still would like to talk to at some point about things I think it could do better about the show. But it's really nice that there's some strong moments in this show, and I feel like that one was one of them, where you really just felt it. You could feel it. You remember that when you're growing up, or you had that issue where there was that fight, and that asshole who you knew he just needed himself handed. You knew it. You were in the schoolyard, you were in high school, you're with friends. You just know this kid's just constantly messing and causing problems, and no one's putting him in check.
It was inevitable.
And you're feeling it. And then and it's the first time I'm watching an episode, and you feel it. Like, you feel it. You're just like wanting to jump out the seat. It was kind of close to what I was saying a couple shows back with, you need that Cap moment, where he picked up Mjolnir. That ass whipping was like that moment where like he just keeps pushing and pushing and pushing, and finally gets it handed to him. You felt it. And I will say that the other moment I feel like that this was one of the strongest moments of the whole show, and I didn't know if you guys were going to touch on it, but was Isaiah Bradley. That moment.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about how strong that moment.
That could have been more.
Yeah,
right, absolutely.
Like, there's a whole story there.
That was a question I was going to bring up. If you guys thought about, what do you think he's going to come back? Like, is he going to pop up again? Is Isaiah Bradley going to pop up again? Like, is he going to be part of how what is it? Party City Cap goes down. You know what I'm saying? Like, is that part of it? Do you think he's going to show up again, or do you think that's it for his character?
I don't know if they would bring him back in some sort of action role, or more as kind of a mentor role for Sam. Right? Because there's the racial affinity there.
That could be interesting.
There's also the, Sam, knew Cap really well, knew Steve Rogers really well. And here's another man who has the same abilities, but went through a very different wartime experience simply based on color of his skin. And I think that's going to resonate with Sam, and I hope they do some sort of mentory thing with that.
Yeah, I think it's very possible for them to bring him back, but I think they're only going to bring him back to help accelerate some of the storyline right now, and how it ties back to the power broker. I think that's going to be involved, based on maybe the power broker potentially being involved in how he was made, Isaiah himself. That could possibly be happening. I don't know. But the timeline may be off for that type of thing, depending on how old the power broker really is, or all that, based on that narrative. I would love to see what Rob's saying about him being kind of a mentor to Sam, maybe pushing Sam over the edge to why he should pick the shield back up. But then on the same aspect, Isaiah's jaded. Like, he's been damaged, and he doesn't want to have anything to do with any of that. I think if they drop the ball with Isaiah at all, it'll be sacrilegious, to be quite honest with you. Because this character needs his own show. This character needs his own backstory. And then on top of what most people don't realize is that his, I believe his grandson that was answering the door.
Yeah.
That's Patriot.
That's
Young Patriot.
Young Patriot. Yeah.
Who's part of the Young Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
So they still they opened it up. They just opened it up for Young Avengers. With WandaVision having Speed and Wiccan, Wanda's children be involved. Now you're piecing together that world.
Yeah.
Of the Young Avenger extension. So I think they're going to be moving forward in that. And then on top of that, having Carly and having the super soldier serum, that also brings in a level of younger characters that are being associated with superpowers. So they really much can branch off with that. But that's a whole different thing altogether.
They've kind of opened that door a little bit, and leaving themselves a way to go to another story.
Correct.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, man, I don't know. Hopefully, if Carly makes it through the show, we don't know how that's gonna end. But that being said, what do you? As a matter of fact, let's get into something we kind of skipped over real quick. Some of the things that you didn't like about the show. Maybe some of the main things that pops out to you as far as what you didn't like. What do you think, Rob?
Yeah.
Mainly just the whole use of the Flag Smashers as a convenient enemy, right? There's really no reason for them to be acting this way, other than the fact that this GRC thing is not happening fast enough to help as many people as possible.
Right.
And it's just malcontent, but malcontent with a bunch of teenagers with super strength, right? It's just it just feels too contrived for me.
Yeah.
I don't really care for the Flag Smasher element. I would have preferred a more, singular villain for them to be working against. And I do like that the show feels kind of like an action detective story.
Yes.
But it needs more of a name to be fighting versus this ragtag of rebels or whatever they're supposed to be, right?
Yeah,
revolutionaries that they call themselves.
Yeah.
The sister story, the family story, backstory, sub-story, it again feels a little contrived, feels a little forced. I mean, there's no real reason for Sam to be that deeply involved in the family business and caring about whether she sells the boat or, he's got his own life and his own goals as an Avenger. So, I don't know why he's not like, hey, you know what? You're running the business. I'm saving the world. I'll stop by for dinner.
Right.
That's just me. But
yeah, I mean, it does make sense that they haven't given us a real reason as to why. I mean, yeah, it seems like he doesn't want to let go of his family's legacy.
Yeah.
But it does make sense when 99.9% of the time he's out saving the world. You know what I'm saying? And she's the one there dealing with it. So it's kind of like, it kind of makes sense.
Well, she's now dealing with it because I think they mentioned that she was gone in the blip.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's why she has no income or revenue for 5 years.
To keep it going.
Right? To satisfy the bank, right? So
yeah.
maybe during that blip time he was, had to go back and help keep that business alive and take care of her kids, and maybe there's a backstory there we're not aware of yet.
Yeah.
So that makes him that invested.
Yeah.
Huh. All right.
Yeah, I think also too, what I think is hard for a viewer that's for us coming in as a viewer looking at these type of small snapshot films between what WandaVision was and what this is that we've already got the general overall picture that's been happening with these characters' lives in the big feature films. So we've already kind of had a layered understanding of what they're doing and how involved they are with these issues. So now they're trying to bring the scope back down to more of a at-home idea with all these characters to make them more humanized rather than superhero. And that's when you get in the weeds of all this, because it's hard to do that. Because as a fan, you're seeing them. You know that they've probably got personal stuff going on.
And apart from Hawkeye, you really don't get the idea that any of these people really have families. Right? Hawkeye's the only one they kind of show the family life. Right. Everybody else is, living large 24/7 as an Avenger.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you don't stop to think that, oh, well, maybe if Hawkeye's got family, well, Iron Man's got a wife and and Banner's banging Black Widow, and
Right.
like
Oh, yeah, I
there's
forgot about that.
relationships off the screen that are happening now. You don't stop to think about, because when you're watching a feature film, it's all blam, smash, ooh, lasers.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of stuff going on, outside of saving the universe.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what do you guys think about, obviously, the most powerful scene of episode 4, which I would say is one of the most powerful scenes in the MCU. Period.
Yeah.
And I think, after thinking about it, correct me if I'm wrong, the only other scene that comes remotely close is when Thor took off Thanos' head.
Yeah.
And that's the only other scene I've seen in the MCU that's remotely close to being this visceral, like this, like,
It's gory.
That's a good word.
the closest I can come to using the word gory for Disney.
Yeah.
Like, what do you, how do you feel, like, what does that mean for Disney? Do you think they're going to keep going in this direction? Because to me, I mean, I never saw that coming. Just because it was Disney. I never saw them doing that. And the fact that they did it makes me giddy in so many ways. You know what I'm saying? So, is that...
I paused it. I paused it when he raised that shield over his head. He's got the guy down on the fountain steps. The guy's, had already beaten the shit out of him.
Yeah, he's begging.
And Walker's got the shield over his head. I paused it. I turned to my wife. I said, there's no fucking way Disney is going to have this guy straight up murder somebody live on social media.
Seriously, you said?
I said that to my wife. And she said, I don't think so either.
Ethnic.
And I hit play.
Yeah.
And she's like, and then I was like, oh shit. Yeah, that fucked me up.
That was awesome. It was so awesome, man.
Exactly what it was supposed to do.
It was supposed to do.
You're supposed to be messed up by that.
Yeah, man. That was such a good scene. I'm sorry. It was.
The chains are off. The chains are off.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, so does this open the door for more? Listen, I'm gonna be honest. We've had conversations about Disney and DC and the DCEU, the Marvel and DCEU. A lot of times when I've had conversations with a lot of quote unquote Marvel fans, they always use the trope that DC's too dark. You know what I'm saying? And because they feel like Marvel's not. So okay, fine. So open with this happening. You know what I'm saying? Does that now put some of these, do you think some of the Marvel fans are going to have problems with it? I think they have. I think some people in the comment sections have started to have problems with it. But does this open the door for more of a little Marvel to kind of go down this road and be a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more visceral?
What do you think, Rob?
I think so. I think it kind of does open that door, and I just hope they use it sparingly.
Yeah.
Like, it was a very powerful, like, it was the peak of the first 4 episodes, and it was absolutely necessary to show Walker's fall. And that last shot of the episode before the credits of the bottom half of the shield just coated in gore, like right out of Walking Dead, level of gore coated on that shield, I think is an incredibly powerful image.
It is.
And it's very heavy-handed, and they need to be careful with its use.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more with that. I think that's what's going to make or break Marvel going forward, with the sincerity of their characters and the drive of their stories. Where DC is basically all outing it, and just everything goes. Yeah. Marvel, by cherry picking, is a way to kind of keep those things running parallel. But I think another thing that also dictates that there's a possibility they're going to accept it a little more is, I think they're in a very unique position when it comes to one character, and how that one character has forced them to have to look at the whole scope of the Marvel MCU because of the acquisition of Fox, and that is Deadpool. Let's just be honest.
Oh,
the Deadpool character has forced Feige, as well as Disney, to have to look at the larger scope of how this character is going to be incorporated within their stories and within their films. And they're looking to do a Deadpool, R-rated Deadpool. Ryan's already talked about it. Feige's already talking about it. It's an R-rated Deadpool. They're going to do it. They're also looking to try to find a way to do kind of that PG-13 version like they did before we won the Deadpool. So they're going to be doing that too. So given the fact that you have this character running around that's extreme gore, extreme profanity, extreme opposite of what Disney is, I think this is the way that Disney can say, we can do a little bit, we can pay homage appropriately to these characters while trying to incorporate that character within the bigger scope of what this world is. So it kind of eases people in a little bit, so that when Deadpool comes on the scene, or Deadpool shows up in some of these feature films, because he's going to show up. I'm telling you right now, he's going to pop his head into an Avengers. He's going to pop up. Might be a quick cameo, might be some crazy zany thing. He's going to pop up. So what better way to get people comfortable by these types of moments here? And that's just my thought. Could be wrong, but I feel like that's something that's was a driver for this decision.
I think too, maybe Deadpool was part of the reasoning behind releasing Stars.
Yeah.
On Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Creating that whole
Absolutely.
mature audience channel within Disney Plus.
Yes. I agree with you.
Knowing that they're eventually going to have to bring Deadpool into certain elements of their catalog, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
now we've got a place for them.
I mean, with all that said, I still don't see how. You know what I'm saying? Like, I still feel like even with the rated R Deadpool in the MCU, it's still gonna have to be, for lack of a better word, watered down a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I still don't see how they're gonna bring that Deadpool into this Disney. You know, they'll keep some things, but they're still gonna get watered down because it's just you know, and I don't have a problem with it. I hope they do. Like, I want them to bring them in. You know what I'm saying? But I just feel like the average person, you know, I don't know. I just and this could be the case too. I said this with the end of Endgame. I felt like personally that Marvel had painted themselves into a corner because they did so well with the first 10 to 12 years and everything. You know, I mean, nothing was perfect. You know what I'm saying? But it ended on a note that was like, where do you go from here? You know what I'm saying? How do we up what we just did? And now it's going to make it that much harder for them to set themselves up to overshadow what they just did. And in that way, it might lead them to want to take some risks. You know what I'm saying? And maybe go, okay, let's try doing this little crazy thing over here and then a little more gore and a little more blood here and stuff. Because what else are we gonna do? You know, so and that could be the case.
Yeah, you're right. They kind of painted themselves into a corner. It's kind of like a Barney Stinson party mix, right, where it's all rise. You know, and they just rose and they kept going and higher and bigger and flashier and wider scope and okay, now we're talking about the whole friggin' universe. And we're going to save the whole friggin' universe. It's not about saving Earth, right? So yeah, like okay, now what? Okay, well we'll introduce this broad,
right?
Captain Marvel, and now she's now the most powerful being, you know, even more powerful than Thanos because Thanos is now dead, right, or whatever. So like, where do you take that now? Like, okay, we've got this person who can basically save the universe all on her own. I guess we'll just phone it in from now on. All the other Avengers, I'll just phone it in. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the next phase is going to bring. And I think that's what these miniseries are really about, is kind of building those bridges between cinematic phases.
I agree.
And keeping the and keeping the audience on the hook, right?
For sure.
If you have a 5-year gap between Endgame and the next major Marvel film, you lose a huge amount of your audience because they're going to get bored waiting for the next big thing.
That's true.
So, I hope they keep doing more of these, and then there's lots of stories. So we got Black Widow coming out.
Yeah.
I heard there's going to be a Hawkeye series coming.
Yeah.
So I think they've got all these little elements that they can use to keep drawing everything together, so that when that next phase launches, you know, we've had all this exposition in all these different series to get us there.
True.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be awesome.
That's true. Yeah, I still haven't watched the Loki trailer yet, so I still haven't seen what that looks like.
Well, actually, it's kind of intriguing. I'm kind of burnt out on Loki, to be honest with you. That's just me. I don't dislike Tom Hiddleston playing the character at all. I think he's phenomenal as a character, but I just think that I'm burnt out on that idea. But when I saw the trailer and how they're trying to incorporate what he's doing, I think that they're building to Kang the Conqueror, and I
Yes.
think they're playing around with that a lot.
Yeah.
And I think we're about to see some stuff. And let me just say, sidewise, uh, I've always kind of liked Owen Wilson a little bit with certain characters, but I know how goofy and how outset some of his movies are. So I've never been a real champion of his movies, but I understand there's some strength there. This character that he's playing, it feels like a weird Detective Stan Lee. I don't know why I want to say that, but he has that weird Detective Stan Lee look, and I love the way he looks, and I'm hoping that he plays off well. I think he will with Hiddleston. I think that's going to make a rich, rich story. But
Have
who
you ever
knows?
seen
You have to
Hiddleston's
watch.
impression of Owen Wilson?
Oh yes, awesome,
It is
Oh,
funny as
uncanny.
shit.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I didn't see the trailer, so I didn't know Owen Wilson was involved. So that sounds interesting.
I actually avoid trailers.
Really?
I try to go into a movie or this show like I try and go in blind, only having watched the previous episode. I stay away from review sites. I stay away from trailers. I don't want to get into discussions about it. I like to hit every new episode fresh viewing, and
That's hard to do nowadays.
So I just avoid the trailers because and discussions just usually boil down, especially on the internet, right? They just boil down to fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. No.
Yeah, well, of course, and that's part of the
Pretty
problem.
much.
That's part of the reason why we try to put this together because that's part of the problem. But that's really hard to do nowadays, man. I mean, you talk about trying to stay away from everything social media.
Yeah.
You know, like I did the same thing with Mandalorian season 2. I didn't look at any of the trailers. I didn't look at anything going into the season 2. And in the moment the episode with Luke Skywalker came on, I literally got up the next morning and turned YouTube on, and the first things that popped up was Luke Skywalker, Mandalorian.
Yeah, I just scroll, man. Scroll. Just keep scrolling.
I
Just keep
was
scrolling.
like, son of a bitch.
Man. Just keep
You know,
scrolling. Just keep scrolling.
ruined it. Just completely ruined it. I was so pissed off. I was like, you know what? What do you expect? You know, but
You're gonna put a spoiler warning on this, right, for the premiere?
well, I mean, we're not talking about anything nobody's seen already. You know,
You don't know that, but anyway.
I mean, I'll put a little disclaimer on it. If you haven't watched the show yet, then that's on you. But especially for episode 4. But that being said, with the way things have happened now with episode 4, knowing that we only have 2 episodes left in this show, which again I don't understand. But like, what would you, how would you guys hypothesize this coming to an end? You know,
I'd like Gray to go first on this one.
You let me go. I honestly, to be quite honest with you, I am not sure. And the reason why I'm saying that is simply because as much as they're trying to lay down the foundation of like who the power broker is, they have clearly not built any type of answer to what a finale is here. And I'm looking through all of it, to be quite honest with you. I'm trying to pull back my information of what they could do. I have some theories, but I don't think they're sound enough to even say right now. Ultimately, there's a couple things here. First and foremost, next episode is going to be a lot longer than all the other episodes previously that we've seen so far. And there actually is word that there is going to be a never-before-seen, first-time-only character that's going to show up on this episode of the Marvel Universe that we've never seen in movies and we'll never see again after this episode, apparently. And it's going to be very, very strong. Sebastian Stan had talked about it recently. And so that makes my head go all over the place because, again, they said, we've never seen him before, him or her. We've never seen this character in the MCU on feature, on cartoon, not cartoon, but on feature films or any of the TV shows. And it's a kind of a one-time thing as of right now. Okay. So, and it's not been spoiled yet. So no one knows. So that's extremely intriguing to me. Because at this point, let's think about this, and it's going to be weird. I don't think a lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's going to be Wolverine." It's not going to be Wolverine. It's nobody we've seen yet. It's nobody we've seen yet. But you got the Princess Bar in Madripoor, and at that current time in this MCU universe, Patch, not Wolverine, Logan as Patch is running the Princess Bar. The Princess Bar was ran by Patch in the comic books, and he was one of the people involved in all that. So that's the crazy thing right now, is that if you kind of know that, You saw that, or you're like, okay, where are we going with this? Right. And then you've got Hawkeye show, and even part of what happened with, I believe, in the beginning of Endgame, where he's in Madripoor there as well, I believe, fighting as Ronin. So you've got that too going on. So there's a lot of stuff happening with the Marvel characters. The fact that we brought Madripoor in here means that the X-Men exist. This world exists within the MCU now because we're getting Madripoor. You could see Lady Deathstrike involved, running as a power broker possibly. You could see Omega Red somewhere involved with this as connected to the Black Widow series and what's happening, because there's talks that he may be in Black Widow. So there could be something happening where the power broker working with the super soldier serum. They also had the Unlimited Wrestling Federation, something like that was being used to create that back in the day in the comic books. You could have some characters coming from there, but that's what I'm interested in finding. I think also too, which we haven't talked about, and I think it goes back to what Rob says, like wanting to see more about what's happening with the therapist and Bucky, because during that period of time in this banter between Bucky and Sam, we have to have a transition where Sam becomes Cap. That's going to happen.
Yeah, that has to happen between the next two seasons, the next two episodes.
All right. Next two episodes. So that has to happen. And Bucky is already angry and pissed at him for giving it up, among other people. So Bucky's at a place right now where I could see Bucky having a major showdown with Walker and taking that shield and doing something irreparably horrible to Walker to make him not be that character. And then basically something happened. Maybe Sam and Bucky come to a precipice where they're fighting each other over that shield. That could be some type of ending point as well. I don't know. I'm trying to grasp while I'm speaking to you guys from all the possibilities, but it's really not shown. And I don't know if Rob feels the same way.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things we can do here, but I want to see this series evolve to a point where, where Bucky becomes Captain America.
I agree.
And I don't think that's going to happen this season.
No.
With only 2 episodes left, I don't think the story is as advanced that far.
No.
So I could see that at the end of a second season, possibly, depending on how that dynamic between Sam and Bucky works out. Maybe even a third season, because not only does he have to kind of reconcile that with Sam, and they have to get the shield away from Walker, but they also have to get to a point where Bucky is endorsed by the U.S. government to be Captain America.
Right.
And the way his therapy is going and the way he's operating outside of any authority kind of makes that difficult. So
True.
I think there's a lot of story happening that has to go before we can see Bucky as Cap.
Yeah,
I want to see that happen.
Yeah, I agree. I've always wanted to see that happen. And it's not because I don't want to see Sam play that role either. But in the comic books, you see Bucky become Cap for many, many issues.
Yeah.
And then Sam eventually becomes Cap. And this is reversed.
Yeah.
So we're getting Sam as Cap and then maybe Bucky later. We'll see. But like you were saying, I think they've wrote them into a backing as well with this, if you think about it, because based on the history of what they've been saying about these shows, they're only 6-episode shows. These are filler seasons. They're not actually talking about doing second seasons at the moment. So they're leaving cliffhangers. They did it with the end of WandaVision.
I don't think they can leave themselves a cliffhanger here. Fans will rise up.
I agree, and that's what I'm saying. Like, they have so many plots going that potentially are very deep plots, and we don't have any resolutions even at episode 4 for any of them.
Yeah, don't Firefly us, mother.
I mean, that's true because you only got two episodes left. How much are they going to be able to tie up all the loose ends in these 2 episodes?
Yeah, even if they do 2-hour episodes, that's not enough screen time.
I agree.
Make it resolve everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So either they're going to leave us with some unanswered questions and we move on to a new series like Black Widow and Hawkeye, or we're maybe it gets resolved in the next movie arcs, right? I don't want to wait for the next phase of the MCU to find out how they resolve this Captain America issue.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want to see that happen in the context of this series, and I hope they can figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
in a way that makes fans happy.
You know, I've seen some rumors going around of people theorizing. You know, like what are the chances that the either the Flag Smashers altogether or Carly, because Sam has already connected to her in a way, comes together with Bucky, and that's how they take down Party City Cap. Is with the Flag Smashers' help or with Carly's help, or will John Walker himself at the end of all of this give his life to save something, somehow, someone. Does he keep on? Like, is John Walker meant to be in the MCU long term, or is he just here for the time being and that's it? You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I don't know, man. If I had to guess and try and, I really think that there's got to be a twist. And like you said, they're gonna reveal somebody in the next episode. I wonder if that reveal is. It almost kind of has to be. That reveal needs to be related to the Power Broker then.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And if it's just an average person, and then they say, hey, this is a character that's in the MCU, famous character in the MCU that is only going to be there once, never been in any of the films, I'm hard to believe that that's just a normal everyday human. It has to be some major character, major villain, major, maybe extraterrestrial. Maybe this ties into the Externals. That's something no one's talking about. Maybe this ties into the External film that's coming out, the Externals. Maybe that's happening too. Maybe it's tying into something else richer than that. We don't know, and it's going to be so quick to deal with all that. So I'm not sure. I really don't sure. It's got me stumped, and I like that. I like about a show to stump me and not be sure of what I'm seeing here. We've talked about that before. I want that richness of a character to the show to do that, but it's just kind of weird. It's kind of dangerous to be so close.
Yeah, I agree, but at the same time, it's like it's just like there's a lot. So do we know for sure that the next episode's longer?
Yes.
The next episode is longer. Okay.
Yeah, it is longer. I feel like this show too, and we haven't talked about it. I feel like this show is dealing too much with the ghost of Captain America. It's built off the ghost of Captain America's idea, and that's going through the whole show, which is not a bad thing. But it feels like, if you think about it, if you really strip it all down, you have Carly's narrative, you've got Sam's narrative, you got Bucky's narrative, you got Sharon's narrative, you've got the Power Broker issue.
You got Walker's narrative.
You got Walker's narrative, right. You've got all these things going. Those are all separate, strong, for the most part. There's got some little bits here and there that lack. But for the most part, pretty strong stories. Mm-hmm. And they're all running rampant. There's nothing that you don't see the end with any of these characters other than maybe Carly dying, Flag Smashers all being killed, John Walker being ostracized by the U.S. government and never being utilized again until some secret need, or because he goes on further in the comic books. He's much further out, so is he involved with anything else? But ultimately, where does this leave Sam and Bucky? Because there's no area that says that they're going to finish anything right now.
Yeah.
And there's no guarantee that we're going to get a second season.
No. No. That's why this is very kind of perplexing, if you will. Yeah. Another thing that I think we never really touched on, I never really had a chance to touch on, but just on a matter of dislikes with the show, I thought this was kind of a strong thing to say, and I don't know, I'd be interested to hear what you guys think about it, is I kind of get irritated that Sam doesn't ever know anything. I mean, he's the main title card character, and Bucky knows more about what's happening than Sam is. Sam's the last to know about all this stuff going on. And he's trying to carry the show. He's the title show character. So it's almost like he doesn't know what's happening until it's happening. That he's smarter than that.
Well, Yeah, I get that. I think where it makes sense is that it's just where in the world, what part of the world that we're dealing with here. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're dealing with the super soldiers. We're dealing with potentially Hydra having a backstory into it. A lot of the avenues Bucky went down with them were dead ends, so they weren't even they weren't even fruitful situations. They were dead ends anyway. But it's just yeah. I get what you're saying. I think they probably could balance it better. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They could have given Sam more opportunities to have connections of his own that he could have pulled from.
He should.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a free agent working with the U.S. Air Force. Absolutely. Against terrorist threats. I mean, he should have back channels into intelligence.
The only thing he had was that one kid, the one sidekick kid he had in the beginning.
Yeah,
which we haven't seen.
There's no real reason for him to be this uninformed.
Yeah, we haven't seen him in the past 2 episodes, the sidekick kid. And that was his only person that he talked to who had information.
Yeah. And that kid, just for fan understanding, that kid ends up becoming a Captain America at one point, or Falcon as well. I think Falcon. At one point, Torres he becomes Falcon.
Yeah.
So there's a difference there. So, but he's just disappeared now. We don't know where he's at. He's not been utilized in any of the last couple episodes.
Yeah. Yeah, which I'll be honest, I thought they crippled him. The first scene where he met with the Flag Smasher and he picked him, the Flag Smasher picked him up and dropped him on his neck practically.
Yes.
I thought he was paralyzed.
His face with a boot.
Yeah, I thought he was paralyzed. I was like, he's paralyzed.
Yeah.
And then when he wasn't, I was like, oh wow, okay, he got lucky because I thought that was the end of him.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Like everything seems to be going down Bucky's avenue of expertise. Like with everything, like going to Zemo, going to what was it called, Madripoor or whatever. Mm-hmm. All of those places are all kind of Bucky Winter Soldier's world.
Yeah.
And we only get the Falcon's world in the very beginning of the show.
Right.
And that's kind of it.
Yeah, because Winter Soldier's had his time is the way I'm looking at this. Winter Soldier's had his time. I think this is supposed to be a standout show for Falcon, for Sam. Even though Winter Soldier's in the title, this needs to be a standout for Sam. Sam is still playing the sidekick in this, and he's the main title holder here. And I think that's the problem I kind of have with this show. There's richness here. There's things I enjoy, but I just feel like he deserves that. If you're going to put a stamp on being, let's put the African American gentleman up there in the forefront to be who he needs to be. Let him be it. Yeah. Don't overshadow him with the White Wolf, with the Winter Soldier. Don't do that. Let the Winter Soldier play where he needs to play in the story to drive the story, but don't take and make Sam the lesser than. And it feels like that. That's just what I'm saying. He's a great character, but it just seems like he's still the sidekick. Like what that little point in the episode 2, I believe. I could be wrong, but 2 or maybe 3 when John Walker in Battlestar is driving them, and he's like, just need you to be my wingman. It him back into that role he's just that, and it really just overarches what's happening with the story a little bit.
Yeah, and that's a good. I think it was a good response from Sam when he's like, ooh. You know what I'm saying? Like, you almost had me. Yeah.
There it is.
It's always the last word that gets him.
Going back to something Graven said about the stories, all these multiple stories, is like almost all of the stories are like just moving at 100 miles an hour, except for maybe Sharon's, which is kind of moving half speed because we don't get a lot of screen time with her. And again, there's a lot of mystery about what her position actually is in Madripoor. But like all these arcs are just whipping down like fast. You don't really get a chance to slow it down in your head and rectify them together,
right?
And see how they are all intertwined. I mean, it's just thrown at you, and you're kind of forced into, this is all one big story with all this. But it's they need to kind of either resolve some of the sub stories and drop them, or make them more integrated to the main storyline in a way that makes sense.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, if you guys had to, I know this is tough to do, man, but it's like, how would you see the show ending? I mean, is this season going to end with Sam getting the stars and the stripes? I mean, I kind of feel like it's supposed to. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I assumed it was going to be. But with only 2 episodes left, you feel like there's so much more meat on the bone.
Reluctantly taking up that mantle that he didn't want in the first place.
And
basically saying, I don't want to be it, but it can't be that guy.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's the what we're going to see an end for.
And at the same time, it's almost like, okay, cool. Is it going to be where everything happens and then at the very last scene he takes it and then that's all we were left with is him at the end? So we don't ever really get to see him be Captain America. We just get to see him take up the, you know, the shield, and then we're done.
Yeah.
You know,
and how's he gonna fit that shield onto his costume with the wings and shit?
Yeah,
like he doesn't have a mount point for that.
Yeah, I mean, he'll have to build one, I guess. I don't know. I mean, the comic books, it seems like he always just carried it on his arm. He never really mounted it to his back. But
yeah.
I can't wait to
the Red Wing.
Yeah, well, yeah, he can't put on his back as a Red Wing. I can't wait to see him in the suit. I really can't because I love that suit. But I mean, is there going to be a season 2? Like, I almost it doesn't.
I hope so.
I mean, I hope so
there's
too.
There's enough material in flight right now to generate a season 2.
I agree.
Right? They could stretch a lot of these threads out to a season 2, a season 3 even. There's so much going on. You know, they could do tie-ins to these other shows as well, crossovers. So I mean, like, I know Kevin Feige has these, you know, these arcs predefined from the get-go before they even start filming. So only he knows if there's going to be a season 2.
Yeah.
I guess it could be. I guess it could be Captain America and the Winter Soldier instead of Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah. I mean, I think what could happen, and I don't think it's needed because I was kind of hoping this would do it. I would not be surprised. Excuse me. I would not be surprised if they do end it on that cliffhanger, like you were saying, Rick, where we see him get the suit finally. Sam does. He's finally Captain America, and he flies off, and he's done. And then the next thing you know, you see a feature film called Falcon, or the Red Falcon, or whatever, or Captain America, another Captain America movie with Sam in the center point, in the new costume, in the new suit, with his own standalone story. I would not put it past them trying to do that, because it gives them a way to move into Captain America again, the name, the series, a feature film.
Captain America and the White Wolf.
There you go.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I didn't think about it like that. Yeah, Captain America and the White Wolf. Wow. Well,
Sam is a guy Bucky would follow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess they have to kind of come to terms with their friendship, because it's like they have this love-hate relationship, but it's obvious they respect each other. You know, but at the same time they got this odd couple thing, you know what I'm saying, where they respect each other but they annoy each other at the same time. You know, which is fun.
Like me and my brother.
Which it's like me. Most brothers,
Yeah. But threaded with a common love. And that's Steve. They love Steve.
Yeah.
And for as long as they love Steve, they're going to do what the right thing is. And it builds good strength into what happens with Bucky possibly becoming Cap himself. I think that as long as Sam is going to be Cap, we deserve to let him see his growth as Captain America, even though it's reversed. He deserves that as a character. We need to see that. That way it means it's even more richer down the line when something happens where he has to give it up and now Bucky takes it over or something happens. So I think that's good. Either way they do it. Both characters need to have time to shine in that shield. But that's the thing. How long is it going to be? Because ultimately Captain America himself, Steve Rogers, is going to have to come back at some point. That's the Marvel way. They're going to bring him back in some way.
Yeah, I've heard the rumors about, a Hydra situation, or, is it gonna be is it the time traveling again? Is it the someone brought up the whole thing with the Hulk with the machine where he made Ant-Man young, and they were like, could they use that machine again? And
yeah,
so I don't know how they're gonna bring him back. I mean, I know in the comic books it was obviously a couple ways, where he either died or something happened. They brought him back because didn't he die in Civil War? The comic book. He was one of the ones that took
a bullet to the throat.
Yeah, he was
Civil War
on the steps.
Yeah, he was one of the ones that died. Yeah, and they brought him back.
And if I remember right, Sharon was the double agent that was being controlled by Hydra that took him out on the steps, if I remember right. I could be wrong.
So, yeah.
But I believe that's what happened because he was in love with her. And they were finally kind of having that arc a little bit, if I remember right. It was a little creepy.
Wait. You talking about Sharon Carter character?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember that
Yeah,
part.
and again, I could be wrong. It's been a while since I read the
love with your
book, but
first love's girlfriend,
yeah,
granddaughter.
Granddaughter. So wait, what is it?
Yeah.
What's the chance of that? What's the chance that that's what they're playing out right now?
I don't know.
Like,
At this point, with Sharon being so seedy, I would not be surprised if she's part of Hydra after the blip and all the horrible stuff that's happened to her, and she's just finally done with it all. Like she's burnt. She's done with it all, and they're
that's
manipulating.
really plausible, bro.
It's possible. It is possible because you've got Zemo talking about Hydra. You got Zemo talking about the super soldier serum. Hydra's not dead.
No.
And I would love that they find. I would love because I think it was. I think they. I think it was horrible that they let it happen the way it is. But I really, really enjoyed Red Skull, Hugo Weaving.
Oh yeah.
And I think that he would have been a great villain to keep going through all this. And they're gonna. I would love to see them bring him back stronger. You have Red Skull stronger in the MCU, and let's not forget Doctor Doom's on the way. They've teased that type of connection here within this show. So Doctor Doom is around somewhere. So I'd love to see that. We need those strong villains. I think the other ones have been played so much. We need strong villains. So,
wow, that's very plausible, man. That she could be a double agent, and that's what this is all about. You know, she's working with Hydra. Maybe the person that they're going to reveal is a Hydra agent of some sort, or is running Hydra now, or something.
Well, with the introduction of Madripoor and the implied inclusion of the Fox movie universe, and the merging of those, maybe the next phase or one of the next phases is Secret Wars.
Well, yeah,
right?
Absolutely,
because that was a series that really kind of meshed, the non-superpowered heroes to the mutant world.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, I think that could be a huge story arc, right? And it's a good one because it keeps it cosmic without, we're not saving the universe. We're feeding this one weird entity, and I think we're going to see a Secret Wars trilogy.
Oh, absolutely. Well, they're definitely doing Secret Wars a movie. I know they're doing a film.
Really?
They're working on a film. Yeah, they are working on a film on their slate. But here's something that I didn't think about till just recent. You talking about that, Rob? There's one little tidbit of something that we're just kind of glazing over that's very possible here that's still active right now in the MCU that they haven't touched on at all is the Skrulls.
Yep.
They've not touched on any of that. They haven't opened up that book yet.
Skrulls, the Titans.
Yeah. So there could be that going on right now. We could have reveals of that.
Thanos was the Mad Titan.
Correct.
Yeah, there's no way the person we're gonna see in this next episode is a Super Skrull.
Don't know.
I mean, obviously Super Skrull. Now we're starting talking about Fantastic Four.
Well, yeah.
Which is Don't get started on Fantastic Four.
They're associated with Fantastic Four, but the Skrulls still inhabit that universe, that MCU. So they can still be pulling the Secret War area with what's going on with all the different hiding of things and situations here. So they could be pulling the strings, and we could see characters that are not really those characters. They're just Skrulls being those characters. So we haven't even talked about all that possibility here. Yeah. That's maybe how they wrap all this up with such a weird, shocking twist that you're like, crap, I didn't see that coming at all. And then it kind of just, it lambasts and it stops those plot threads that are running so fast to say, wait a minute, there's more going on here.
What's the big three, right?
Yeah.
Aliens, wizards, and what was the third one?
Androids. Yeah.
Yeah, the big three. Yeah. I love that part.
Me too.
No, but now you're thinking about it. What's the chances of the Skrulls being involved to try to get the super serum?
Yeah.
To create the super Skrulls.
Yeah. They could play with that.
Like at one point, didn't they try and blackmail Reed Richards into recreating it for them?
Absolutely, they did. Yeah.
Wow.
They've been in the background through decades of Marvel lore. So
yeah.
Yeah, they still haven't really opened that door as well as they could have. I mean, minus, we
got that little glimpse in Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, just because there's certain villains and heroes that are associated with certain flagship titled characters in the MCU, like the Skrulls don't only have to be there when Fantastic Four shows up.
Of course.
They don't, these characters, but that's where people get kind of misconstrued on story building. They think because if only for X-Men to be in the world, this has to happen. And we've talked about that a little bit with Match Report, but it doesn't. They don't have to be involved. These things interwork so much underneath that universe. So
Yeah, I mean they can rewrite their own ways of it happening. It's just the moment we talk about the Super Skrull, I'm automatically thinking Fantastic Four because that's how he got his powers.
Absolutely.
But as far as the Skrulls are concerned, period, that could be how they create the Super Skrull, is by trying to get the serum, and that's probably maybe they're behind the power broker. You know what I'm saying? So
it could be funding it all. Not to mention they still haven't wrapped up what's happening with Fury and where he's at with Sword, and what's going on with all that right now in the Super Skrulls, because that's a whole other thing happening right now above planet.
yeah, that was one of the other theories, was that maybe we find out that Captain America is on the moon with Sword or something like that. Like that whole thing in the beginning, which was joking about, was actually real. He actually is on the moon. You know.
Yeah. And I don't know. I know you probably haven't caught. Rob hasn't caught the trailer, and I know you haven't had a chance to see it yet. But with Loki, there is a huge, I think, tease connection that could be going on here when it concludes to how they bring Cap back, and that is in the back of one of the, when Loki is in this trailer, you see on the back it says variant. This Loki is a variant of all the Lokis from the separate timelines that have been split off.
Oh wow!
So when Cap did what he did to restore things, he created a variance. You see what I mean? Yeah. So even though we see old Cap in Endgame, there's very much potentially could be multiple versions of Cap being varianted off. So that still kind of sit within a certain timeline or come in and out. And then here's the big thing that people might not know is, and how to connect this to this, is the big overarching thing that's happening with Marvel right now, that they set up with WandaVision, and they're going to continue within Doctor Strange and the madness of the multiverse and Spider-Man. All these things all has to connect with the multiverse. Mm-hmm. All of it. Mm-hmm. So anybody can show up. Anything can show up right now.
Yeah, because
it all can rep into that.
Yeah, because the Earth we've seen all these movies in is like what, Earth 683 or something.
Right.
Right. So it's going to be wild. And one of the things I just thought of is by folding the X-Men arcs in and joining those universes together, well, now we're opening up Mephisto and Magic's storyline.
Absolutely, and that's where they're going.
Right? I mean, there's a lot. Like they keep giving us more threads. You know, there's a million threads, and we have to guess which ones they're going to pull on.
Correct.
To deliver content on.
Yeah, boy. Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, what's the next show after the Falcon and Winter Soldier?
That was Black Widow.
So Black Widow is coming out next, right? That's a movie though.
That's a movie. I think as far as the TV series goes, it's going to be Loki.
It's Loki,
I believe.
Yeah. Okay.
Loki's coming out next.
Okay.
Black Widow will be intermittent within those areas. I'm thinking July.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
I didn't know that was a movie. I thought it was going to be a show.
Yeah, it's a movie.
Yeah, Black Widow's a movie. Yeah.
And then you got Hawkeye, and let's not forget they're still building for Moon Knight and She-Hulk and all that.
Moon Knight, one's my favorite characters.
Oh, me too, man. Me too.
I still don't know how they're gonna do She-Hulk. I just don't know how they're gonna do it.
That one I'm concerned with.
Yeah, I'm concerned. I don't know how they're gonna pull that off. It just doesn't make any sense to me, especially in this day and age.
That's a lot of exposed green skin.
That's what I'm talking about. Like from the comic book era I grew up in, She-Hulk looked a certain way. I don't see how they're gonna pull that off this day and age. So that
like there were issues where like certain artists would draw her and it was like Kim Kardashian in green paint.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like that level of voluptuousness and I don't know if how they're going to get that past the ratings guys without at least a mature or something.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. 8 foot tall Kim Kardashian. That is just not going to work. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to pull off, because it's either going to be a hit or a horrible miss. But I'm not holding my breath for that one.
Yeah.
But so far, guys, I know we got 2 episodes left. It sounds like there's a lot that's going to happen, which is amazing to me. If you had to give the show a yay or a nay so far, what would you give it? Would you say it's a good show?
Yay.
You say it's a bad show. What would you say?
I mean, I think with any type of review, you can split hairs with everything and why a show could be bad and why a show could be good.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with this show itself, it's above average
Mm-hmm.
for what it's trying to do. I think there are some things they need to work on, like we've talked about with the show here, especially when it comes to narrowing down the plots
a lot of
and
threads.
what's happening there in the time frame. But overall, is it strong? Yeah, it's a strong show, and they've got some strong characters that they've built with this, and I think that they can definitely do better with it as they move forward. And they've opened up a huge realm of other things that we want to see. So I think it's definitely worth a watch. You guys should go out and take a look at it, take a watch, make the decision for yourself.
Oh, definitely binge watch it.
Yeah.
What do you think, Rob? Good show. Well, I know. I mean, Rob texted me like,
yeah, I'm loving the show. I think that the 1 week element that I identified already, the Carly character.
Yeah.
I think 2 extra length episodes is enough to redeem her character a little bit.
Hopefully, yeah.
And give us the depth we need and give us the real reason why she's doing this fight.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're going to get that done.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, she's a talented actress, and they're kind of wasting her abilities with the way they've given us the character so far.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to see them. I love the show. I just want to see them, redeem that character arc.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess what we're going to do, we're going to leave it here, and then we're going to come back after the next 2 episodes when it's all said and done and wrapped up, and then see kind of how we feel at that point in time. Kind of revisit this and see where we're left off at the end. I'm sure it's going to be a very interesting last 2 episodes.
Looking forward to it.
And the only thing I have to say again, is I'm talking to you 2 guys specifically, is and I know Graven knows about this, and I just put Rob onto this. Make sure you're watching the show called Debris.
Yeah.
Watch the show.
Yeah. I gotta find it.
Yeah, because you gotta
on
find
Hulu.
it. Because he's in Canada.
You don't get Hulu up here in the Canadian.
Oh, you don't?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, they don't get Hulu in Canadian land.
Well, if you want to, Rob, you could probably. I don't know if you can sign into what's it on? Is it on CBS naturally? Which station?
Debris is
I'll
on.
look it up to which stations or
NBC.
which networks it's on, and because I've got IPTV, so I get a lot of the U.S. affiliate stations on IPTV, so I can probably start catching new episodes.
Right.
If I plan for it, but getting the first few episodes, I'll have to find some way to stream them.
Well, I know that you can log in
to
whatever network it is. Like I could, if I'm not having Hulu, I can log into whatever the network website is for the network, and with your provider, whoever you have service with. I don't know how that works up there, and then you should be able to watch the previous ones there. You might want to look there possibly. Again, you're the expert there.
I'm sure I can find an avenue.
Cool.
Yeah,
cool.
It's on NBC, but
NBC. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody turned me on to a show on Amazon Prime, Invincible.
Oh, yeah, the anime.
If you're not watching that, check it out.
Yeah.
I watched the first episode today, and I laughed my balls off.
Yeah, you need to.
Rob,
it's
so good.
As soon as you get an opportunity, you need to pick up the graphic novels, the books.
Oh, okay.
Pick up the books too.
Oh, all right.
Oh, yeah.
Rob, have you never seen it before, Rob? You never read
No.
it? Or...
Oh, yeah, you got to read the books.
I heard about it yesterday. So.
Oh, get the
You
books.
have no idea.
Get the books as
how
quickly
good
as you
that
can.
story is.
As
Well,
quickly as you can.
I love J.K. Simmons.
Yeah.
So his voice over that character is just it is funny as hell.
It is. It is.
Oh man, I wish you could read the books before you see the show. Once you know once you get an idea where this show is going, man, it's insane. It's insane.
Nothing like it.
Okay.
Nothing like it.
You're gonna have a good
All right,
time.
well, I thought I was going to turn you guys onto it, but hey, you're already ahead of me on it.
So we'll leave it there. I'm gonna come back to you guys. At some point, we're gonna talk about Debris and we're gonna talk about Invincible.
I'll try and get caught up on Debris.
I got my panel now. So, all right, guys. So we're gonna leave it there. I'll leave a description down below. Put everybody's information down below, contact information, so you guys can follow Graven and Mr. Rob himself. Please come back and check us out again. We will be coming back with more videos, more reviews, more reactions, a lot of other stuff. Just check out the Bloody Nerd, and I'm glad you guys sat with us through this
blast, man.
Big sweaty entourage of thoughts. And we will come back to you guys again soon. So thanks for tuning in, and we will leave you with that. All right.
Awesome, guys.